Hey, howdy, and welcome all to the Big and Bright Podcast. My name is Nick. This here next to me is James.
Howdy.
Friends, still not the most exciting times in Texas. We do have a couple of things that we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
The days of Uvalde are kind of fading off into the background, where Texas was at the forefront of everything.
Yeah.
But we're still pretty relevant. Let's be real. I mean,
Uvalde's still not solved. Let's be real as well.
That's true. There's a reason why this isn't a Vermont podcast, right? That would be terrible. But nonetheless, one big thing that we do want to point out. Hey man, snow in Texas is a big deal.
Yeah, man, Vermont, it's like, it's another day.
Yeah, Vermont, it's another day. Snow in Texas, it kills like 700 people.
Yeah.
Which isn't funny, but it is a news story. Here's the thing. I do want to make sure that you guys are aware about all of the election things that are happening. Election is coming up. James, you need to repent.
I do.
Why do you need to repent?
Because I messed up the date.
You did. You messed up the date.
However, if you're a Democrat, the voting day may be November 4th. Yeah. Don't double check that. Just go in there like, oh, you just can't vote here. It's fine.
You can't do that, man. You'll get kicked off of YouTube for misinformation.
I don't care.
Do you remember that happened? That happened during the presidential election. Some guy got kicked off for misinformation for making that joke.
Yeah, but I don't know if that really applies to us because we're cooler than him.
That's very true. It is also worth noting that
it's November 8th. Sorry, it's November 8th.
It's also worth noting that if you were watching on YouTube, then you saw the corrections that were put up on the screen.
Yeah.
So, which is more of a case to watch, not just listen to us on Spotify, but also watch us on YouTube. And while you're there, like,
subscribe,
comment,
ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Very good. Ring the bell.
Share.
Share. Share's a big one. Comment also, but mostly share.
Yeah.
And ring the bell.
Yeah.
That being said, we did discuss Election Day last time, and we spent most of our time talking about the two primary candidates for governor, which of course was Robert Francis, aka Beto O'Rourke, and our beloved Meals on Wheels governor, Greg Abbott. And I think it came, we tried to be as impartial as possible. That being said, as possible, right?
Yeah.
That being said, have you seen so if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you probably, before this video came up, you probably saw a Beto O'Rourke campaign ad. Did you see the campaign ad that he's rolling out now?
No.
Okay. So one thing I will say, and I said this last week, Beto O'Rourke is a way better media guy than Greg Abbott is.
Yeah.
His website's better. It's more concise. It's easier to read.
Faster to donate.
His ads are better, right? His ads are better in top, right? Because Greg Abbott's ads are, Beto O'Rourke wants to raise your taxes, but he was caught skipping his own taxes. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like we know. And as much as I don't like taxes, right? I'm not.
To be fair, that should be a bigger deal.
It should be a bigger deal, but it isn't. What are Beto O'Rourke's ads about? Abortion. They're all about abortion because he knows that that's the hot button issue. And he has this ad where like this lady comes up with with like a Biden sticker or something like on her car, and this guy, this big old trucker guy with a bald head and a goatee, walks up and he's got a big Trump sticker on the back, and then they both sit down and tell you how they agree that Greg Abbott's abortion policy is bad, and I'm like, I'll take lies for $10,000. Like there's no way that guy's really a Trump supporter. Anybody can put a sticker on their truck, dude. Get some Goog on and take that off right after the shoot.
Yeah.
I don't believe for a second that guy's a Republican, but it's an effective ad. I will say that, right? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to be the primary purpose of this episode. But we're going to talk about the other election that is happening. And one interesting thing about this is that it is another election.
Yes, it is.
When you have the governor and lieutenant governor, it's not like the president and vice president of the United States. You're not voting on a ticket.
No.
You have someone that's running for lieutenant governor, and you have someone that's running for governor. And you can elect both of them. So
sorry, side note, why do you not call it vice governor? Like literally, it's vice president, just vice governor.
It's
what's the reason for lieutenant? Like makes you feel like more superior?
It's because we were a republic.
Every state does it.
That was started by war.
But every state does it.
And so we need a lieutenant.
I get that. But then shouldn't the governors be general?
That's true. Governor General. Even though general in that is an adjective, it's not a rank. But nonetheless.
Do we have an attorney general? Like, okay, sorry.
Here's the reason why. It's because vice governor sounds weird.
So lieutenant governor.
It's hard to say.
It sounds weird. Think about it. Vice governor.
I do mix it up, though. I say vice governor all the time, even though it's never been.
Yeah, it makes sense to have vice. That's a side note. I apologize.
But the election for lieutenant governor and governor happen separately, which means you could theoretically have a Republican for governor and a Democrat for vice governor, for lieutenant governor.
Why'd you say that quietly?
Because I'm trying to make fun of you, right? For lieutenant governor.
Yeah, I was saying, you said Democrat. Like, you said, it's Democrat. It's okay.
Yeah, Democrats.
It's not a curse word.
Democrats are kind of not really.
It's not a curse word like California.
Not really a word we speak in my house typically, right?
Your son does. Your son's all about veto.
No, he's not. No, he's not, because he will go without supper.
Have you seen his toy truck? Someone may have put a sticker on there. Don't worry about that.
That person will die by my hand. Nonetheless, friends, we do want to at least talk about the two candidates that are there, so you at least have some information, and we'll tell you where you can get more in the description, which you can read when you're liking and subscribing and commenting.
And sharing.
And sharing, absolutely. So, first things first, let's talk about our incumbents. Who's our incumbent? Patrick. Yes, Patrick is the incumbent.
The principled conservative leadership for Texas.
The current lieutenant governor of Texas, and he is probably going to win.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
He's a good wheeler and dealer when it comes to our legislative sessions.
The odds of him winning are pretty high.
Yep.
Not only because he's an incumbent, not only because he's a Republican, but because he's going up against the same guy that he went up against last time, and he beat him last time. Right.
We'll talk about that.
And last time was a much more contentious race than I feel like this one's going
to. Because it had Beto and Senator Cruz, and Trump was actually still in the White House.
Yep.
Like, can I just say the other guy's name? We'll get to him.
Sure, yeah, it's Mike Collier.
It's Mike Collier. Mike Collier is the Democratic contender against Mr. Dan Patrick here. And he is the closest that's ever come to beating Dan Patrick. But, I mean, so with Beto, loss is still a loss. However, I don't know. Maybe he's gained some ground. Dude is a lot better at the Twitterverse than Mr. Dan Patrick. I will tell you that.
I doubt it. That is to say, though,
let's compare some websites.
The reason why I started with this whole thing that he's confident that he's going to win is because Dan Patrick, you're right, doesn't do the Twitterverse and doesn't really seem to have any online advertising as far as campaign.
Yeah, his website sucks.
His website isn't a campaign website. It's literally danpatrick.org. It's not Dan Patrick for Texas. It's not vote for Dan Patrick. It's just Dan Patrick. He just got the domain name danpatrick.org. And this looks like an informational website. Apart from
it's like just one step above a Wikipedia site.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
Apart from there is a section on just about everyone. You do have to scroll for it. It says donate today. You wouldn't even know that this was even any way linked to a campaign.
No.
Now, here he's got some campaign updates, but this just looks like a news site.
I mean, it says it's day of my bus tour.
Yeah. He doesn't have
He did a tour? That's the thing. I had no bus tour,
right? He doesn't have any, he's got some of his endorsements, which I guess we can check out, but he doesn't have an issues page. He has a Meet Dan Patrick that he can talk about, right? Meet Dan Patrick, first elected lieutenant governor in 2014, reelected in 2018. Just kind of talks about him. He's got a big old picture of him with Daddy Trump.
There you go.
Right, so that's a
win.
That's a nice one, right? That's a winner.
It's funny. It's a Trump though wearing a blue tie, which is
that's true. And the thing is that Donald Trump almost always wore the red tie.
Yeah,
always wore the red tie. Now it's a fun fact that
when he's meeting rhinos, he wears a blue tie.
I can't remember when, but there's I think it's in the past century. Presidents have never worn it was literally since television started. They've never worn a tie publicly that isn't red or blue.
Really?
Those are the only two acceptable tie colors because they're non-offensive and they're somewhat vaguely patriotic.
Well, it's a power tie, really.
Yeah. So it's like you'll never see a president wearing a green tie or yellow tie. It'll always be either red or blue. Trump almost always went with the red, and he always wears it way too low, and I find it super obnoxious.
Yeah.
But it is, again, power tie. For what it's worth, Dan Patrick, he's a goofy-looking dude. I'm not here to make an ad hominem, and Mike Collier's not much better, but he's a goofy-looking dude. Let's talk about endorsements. That's the closest thing we have to an issues page here, guys. Is just
he literally again another picture with
Trump.
Trump.
Picture of Trump, yeah. Well, obviously, it's an endorsement, right?
It's a good start.
Exactly. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is out. Hold on. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is outstanding and has my complete and total endorsement.
You still went
I
with
still, yeah, so sorry.
Neither of us can do it. I don't go Julian nor you do.
You know what? I get nervous around you. Yeah, but that is. That's Donald Trump, right? Yeah, Ted Cruz sent out an endorsement.
Ted.
John Cornyn sent out an endorsement way shorter than Ted's.
Yeah.
Right. He's like,
it's like a text message. Dude's awesome.
Yeah, Dan Patrick, he's good. Whatever.
Who else?
Rick Perry. There we go. Former governor. Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump. And back to Cruz.
So he has like 5.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have a couple endorsing organizations: Independent Banker Association of Texas. I would take it off. Houston Business Region Coalition, Department of Public Safety.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot.
Texas Farm Bureau.
Yeah, Texas Farm Bureau. There's a bunch here, right?
Yeah,
and this is another thing. I'm not going to list it all because it's actually they're not. You actually have to scroll through them, which is another thing. This website's terrible. Dallas Police Association. Okay. Texas Restaurant Association.
Okay.
Let's see if there's a Tex Pack. Don't know what that is.
Trey Pack.
Trey Pack.
I don't know any of that.
Hoss Pack, right? Texas Hospital Association. National Border Control Council, right? So you're hitting all the hot buttons. I'm sure that
a lot of packs.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of packs in here. I'm sure that you
pack,
I'm sure you get all right. Oh my goodness. How long were you waiting for that one?
I just hit that.
I don't believe you. I'm sure that the NRA is in here somewhere. Texans for Lawsuit Reform Political Action Committee. Do you know anything about them?
No.
No?
Nope.
All right.
Don't care.
I mean,
be reformed.
Guys, he's a
more lawsuits.
Pretty standard Republican. I mean, he's all about Trump.
Okay,
big business guy.
Abbott's was terrible because it was basically an incumbent. This is not even an incumbent. This is basically just like, I'm here.
This is an info website. Like, legitimately, I think that they just took his info website from Dan Patrick is lieutenant governor and added a couple of things about the campaign.
Yeah, and no, he's not, but it almost feels like dude just down in the town not giving a crap.
For sure. All right, let's talk about Mike Collier. Okay, Mike Collier has a slightly more streamlined website. Also a pretty goofy looking dude, if you ask me. He kind of looks like, who's that dude who's the agent in A League of Their Own?
I don't know. I think he looks a little bit like a tan Chris Christie.
Yeah, he looks like a really tan Chris Christie with white
fat.
hair. Not quite as big, right?
You're so nice, dude.
He's kind of a dumpy looking guy though. Again with the ad hominems, Nick, what are you doing? Fight for a better Texas, right? So you've got a lot of, and of course
where did he go to college?
That would be the University of Texas.
Oh, you know who beat them this week in football? The sport that matters.
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. That's right. Texas Tech beat them in overtime. Just to make sure you know,
football's not the only.
Two of my teams that I cheer for that very avidly.
One of the schools he actually attended
have beaten Texas
and lives in the state. The other one, the one that he likes even more, you could argue, never lived in the state, never attended.
Has rings. I didn't know there was a.
Yeah, so did the Chicago Bulls. You don't root for them.
No, Michael Jordan's not there anymore.
Yeah,
it's the only reason we go for him.
All right, priorities. Let's talk about the issues page because there actually is an issues page for Collier, right?
Sorry, one more side note.
Sure.
Record 10. You can keep going.
It's not a side note. That's a continuation of the last point you were making.
I just want to make sure.
First, fund our public schools. There's a winner.
Okay.
Right.
Is he also using the lie where, because I know that actually Teachers Union came out recently, put a lie that they were spending about $9,000 per student. And it was like, well, from the start, it's a lie because we're actually at least 13%. And when you compare it to other states, we've gone up over 160% on trying to pay for the students.
Sure.
So it's like, okay, you're just going to lie? Then okay, keep lying.
Mike will fully fund our public schools and pay our educators so that every child can have aspirations as big as Texas. And that means fully funding our public schools, not vouchers and not private charters. First of all,
wrong.
I think the case for school vouchers, publicly funded school vouchers, is a good one. Not going to have that discussion right now. But the other thing is, where's this indication that our schools are not fully funded? Right there.
I think they're just leaping.
He's saying
leaping off Uvalde. Like, see, there's so many safeties.
I like education. Okay, whatever. Here's a good one. Oh, he's edgy. Look at this.
Oh, gosh.
It says, fix the damn grid.
Oh.
Oh, my gosh. Right? Fix the Democratic grid. Mike is a businessman, energy expert. Is he?
He worked as an accountant.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this dude's a finance guy, not an energy
I'm
guy.
not saying he doesn't know anything, but
Energy expert, right?
no.
Dan Patrick appointed a wealthy campaign donors to the ERCOT board. Mike will hold the corporations that made billions of dollars while Texas froze accountable. Right. So our two biggest things. So funding public schools is the first one on there. I think that that's just kind of not a terribly offensive thing that's going to get people on their side. And then, of course, you have fixing the grid, which is the hottest point against the current incumbents. After this,
The hottest point is because the AC's not working.
yeah,
You're welcome.
okay. We're waiting for that one for a while too.
Nope, just throwing out these little dad jokes.
Here's the other one:
that come up.
rein in property taxes. Property taxes have
I
risen
don't
more
believe you.
under Dan Patrick than any other lieutenant governor in memory. Also, here's the thing: he's not wrong. Property taxes have gone up considerably, right?
Yes. Also, people have flocked here considerably.
Yeah. Property taxes are going to go up. Home values are going to go up. That's another thing that is kind of sneaking under the radar here, is that the reason why people are paying more in taxes for their property taxes is because their home values have gone up. Because as you said, people are flocking to the state. What that causes is a shortage in inventory, and that means that you're going to have higher values in property. Now, has the market slowed down? Yes, dramatically so in the past couple of months. But that's not going to catch up until next year with your property taxes. So
You gotta eat
what
it for a
people
year.
are perceiving as a higher property tax rate is actually just an increase in the value of their home, which is a good thing. So this is a little bit of smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. There you go. Protect women's rights.
You don't even read it. You know
Yeah,
exactly
gotta
what
have
it
Roe
says.
versus Wade. He did it too. Invest in rural communities. So you'll recall last episode we looked at Beto O'Rourke and we said, invest in rural communities. What does that mean?
Nothing.
It's just communism. Like it's literally just spread the wealth around, right? He's going to prioritize. He's going to prioritize specific programs that
pull all efforts from money, oppose all efforts to pull money
out of rural schools, right?
Private school, yeah, shut up.
So it's taking the sort of union thematics not thematics, the union motif of sort of the upper and Midwest area and putting it into sort of a rural Texan thing. But yeah, I think they colluded on that.
It's a Democrat talking point.
Keep our communities safe. I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Return
by
competence.
legalizing marijuana. Yeah, that's gonna do it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's gonna do it.
I don't see how that follows. I love this one though. Return competence to the office of lieutenant governor. Mike will return competence to the office of governor. So
solve complex problems.
Yeah, he's basically. I mean, that's a shot right across the bow, dude.
Well,
First
you
of
want to
all,
win, you're gonna be nice. You're gonna try to win.
yeah, this guy's aggressive. He's being real aggressive with stuff. He's saying stuff like "fix the damn grid," and he's saying things like, he's saying things like "return competence," right? So this guy's definitely going hard after his opponent. Very negative, sort of stuff when it comes to.
Dude's website's so much better.
Yeah, his website's way better. That being said, the Meet Mike section is boring. It's very long and it's all a bunch of paragraphs and pictures from his childhood, which I don't care about. So that is your lieutenant governor. And I mean, again, this is more of the principle of the thing, friends, because we want you guys to be informed. We want to make sure that you know who it is you're voting for, so you're not just voting on a party ticket. That being said, most of the time when you do your research, they're going to follow along general lines that you know and understand. As a matter of fact,
That's why you kind of watch their speeches.
I think Mike and Beto actually coordinated on a couple of those.
It's just a Democratic talking point. Yeah,
it's definitely a Democratic talking point. All right, you know what the Republican talking point is?
What's that?
That'd be guns.
Guns, that'd be guns.
So a couple of really big things have happened here concerning the state of Texas, specifically with the Second Amendment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Justice James, which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, to start.
I'm leaning heavy on you because this is all legal jargon.
Yeah, to start, in order to understand any of this, we have to go back to this summer, which is in June, when I disrespect him. Just Clarence Thomas. He wrote the majority for a case.
Which you mean is Big Daddy Thomas.
Yes. A case which was New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin. It dealt with the law about a carry law in New York, concealed carry, and basically people were applying for it, not having any real bad background checks, and they were still being denied because New York didn't want to have handguns. Basically, you had to have a special license in order to get the special license to get a handgun. And they turned that over, said, nope, you can't do that. Basically, if you're going to make a gun law, it has to be backed up by some historical factors in U.S. history or any kind of showing of actually being passed somehow in the legislative, not just in one state, which some people might say it's kind of an affront. However, the Second Amendment allows it to be as wide. It's not a second class right. It's the same right as everybody else, so it doesn't get to go down a step. Now, because of that, we have 2 court cases that have recently come in. One last month that we didn't talk about. We had some other stuff on the table. And then last week, another federal judge did another one. So I'll start with the first one, which is indicted felons are still able to purchase firearms.
Now, you think this is a good thing?
I do.
Okay.
I
Go
do.
ahead and make it. Well, we'll go through the story real quick.
All right.
So you can make your case why, because I don't necessarily know if I agree.
Okay. The Texas case arose out of the conviction of a man who had purchased a gun. This is just the background of this case. Now I'll explain. The case is United States v. Quiros. So it's a huge, long thing. I really can't give you a site. It's only available on Westlaw, and a lot of people don't subscribe to that because it's way too expensive. I do because I work in a law office. So this case arose out of a conviction of a man who had purchased a gun while under indictment and lied about it during his background check, according to the ruling. Nicole Golden, who is an executive director of Texas Gun Sense, it's a little advocacy group. Sorry, I can't talk. So. Support for sensible gun laws has been really high, especially this summer for the wake of Uvalde. They're trying to use Uvalde as their argument. That's what they're trying to do the whole time. Yeah. This feels very much in violation of what I think public is expecting when it comes to how we address our public safety, thinking about the ruling, because this is the other side getting mad they lost. They're using the court thinking that they're a political thing instead of realizing the court just deals with what the text of the law says. And basically what this did, this happened last week. You're not going to hear a lot of talk about it.
I'm going to pause real quick. This is actually a trend that we're seeing happening in sort of the judicial branches across the board, right? This idea that you can basically hitch your case to a recent event like Uvalde, and sort of tug at the public heartstrings, not of the court, but of the public opinion, and pressure courts into doing that. And using courts as a political tool. I mean, I think this kind of started in the 70s, but it's really coming into prominence legitimately in the past couple of months, right?
It only works on our Chief Justice.
But that's what's happening, not on only our Chief Justice. That's what's happening here, right? They're trying to latch onto Uvalde and use this as an opportunity to make a big push when they feel like public support's on their side.
And in their favor, you do that. You try to make it seem like all is going to be ending if you allow this to happen.
Well, that's what you do with elections, not with courts. I mean, anyway.
You're an advocate for your side. Simple. Mm-hmm. So, what it declared is Title 18 of U.S. Code, Section 922, subsection N, is unconstitutional based on the ruling of Bruin. And I'll explain what that. I'll just read it verbatim. What that section states. Okay. It shall be. And apologize. A lot of gobbledygook to say very simple language.
This is why I'm leaning on you for this.
Yeah. Welcome to law. It shall be unlawful for any person who is under indictment for a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year to ship or transport in interstate or foreign commerce any firearm or ammunition, or receive any firearm or ammunition which has been shipped or transported in interstate or foreign commerce. Basically, if you're under indictment for a felony, you can't purchase a gun. Period. Anywhere.
So what does under indictment mean?
That means
having been convicted?
No. That means a grand jury has stated there's more than enough to say, it's a good chance you did it. Let's go to trial now. And that's where the issue came up in the court. Because, one, there's no clear evidence of historical record to do this, period. Yeah. So he knocks that argument. It's about half. It's about 30-page ruling. And here's where he starts getting just hammers in on the grand jury. The freewheeling nature, this is straight from the case. The freewheeling nature of such proceedings stems from the Supreme Court holding that 1, the rules of evidence do not apply when it comes to grand jury. 2, evidence barred by the Fourth Amendment's exclusionary rule may be heard in a grand jury. And 3, the grand jury may rely on evidence obtained in violation of the defendant's Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. Simply put, a grand jury investigation is not an adversarial process. You may have heard this in the past. It's from a court case, I believe, in 1985. Forget the justice that said this. I think it wasn't a justice that, it was actually a lower court. But it said, you can indict a ham sandwich in a grand jury. Because one, you're not allowed to have representation as a defendant. A guy or a gal has to sit outside. You can walk out, talk to them, and then come back and answer the questions. But you have no Fifth Amendment rights. You have to answer all the questions. And even though I legally obtained this evidence, I can still use it for these people to judge. Is it more likely than not that he did it or not? All right, cool. You see how unfair that is? It's literally stacked against you.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how you get an indictment.
For sure.
And that was the biggest thing.
And you can't purchase firearms. So this is only concerning people that have been indicted.
Indicted.
Right?
For a felony.
This is not for people who have been convicted of a felony.
Correct. Just indicted.
If you're convicted of a felony, it's illegal for you.
Still legal.
Yeah, okay.
Still very much legal.
All right. Here's the thing, and this is what's really interesting, because I read through this article. I looked over it. Again, a lot of legal stuff that I don't really understand, and I think that's what people are going to count. Because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you, this is what's going to happen as we get closer to November. This might even be, depending on what happens in the news, this might even be what happens later on as we approach the 2024 election.
Notice the news doesn't really talk about it, though, either.
But here's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear, in Texas, it's legal for felons to have firearms.
Yeah.
Right? Or, even if they want to be technical, they allow people who are indicted for felonies to get firearms.
You know, you do for the candidate.
What?
Yeah, we didn't decide that was a court issue, and it's actually not a Texas law. That's a national law, but it's unconstitutional.
Again, here's the thing. This is one of those things that you can A, tack to administration, tack to a political party, and B, it's something that's confusing. It requires clarification, and thus it can easily be it can easily be manipulated as propaganda.
Oh, you're not wrong there. But the reason also he gives this judge gives a historical analysis about the primary reasons why you would have these kind of laws. And typically in the past, they were used against black and other unfavorable groups by the majority of the time. So the Civil War, the actual war between the states, if you want to be actual, those laws were used to disarm blacks and bar them from obtaining or purchasing firearms. 2 Cincinnati riots, which happened in 1841. Whereas a huge riot happened, it got quelled. Once it was quelled, the whites there said all the blacks have to be disarmed. And then shockingly, a day later, they ransacked them because they knew they were unarmed. Seems really weird. Literally, a lot of it just goes toward hurting black people, but people don't want to talk about that part.
Yep.
And it also then says the government, who was for this law to say this should be unconstitutional, they cite to it's called U.S. v. Yancey. It's from the 7th Circuit, so a circuit that doesn't really count. Which cites an 1868 case or constitutional treatise, and I know it's a lot of jargon. I'm trying my best to make it palatable. But it stated the constitutional right may not apply to the idiot, the lunatic, and the felon. That's how they get the felony part. However, they didn't do the full quote, which the other side of this case I'm talking about makes sure to know. That they equated blacks to lunatics for the sake because they were black. That's their only reason. Because they're black, they must be lunatic, they shouldn't have weapons. See how it gets pretty racist pretty quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. The conclusion, like I said earlier, Second Amendment is not a second-class right. No longer can courts balance away the constitutional right. After Bruin, which is how this all started this year, the government must prove that laws regulating conduct covered by the Second Amendment, plain text, align with the nation's historical tradition. The government does not meet their burden, therefore this is unconstitutional. This can still be appealed. Right now, as the law, it is unconstitutional. If you have Westlaw, they have things that have a green flag, yellow flag, red flag. Green flag, good to go. Yellow flag, a piece of it kind of been like, it's kind of questionable, not exactly to overturn, but you're not sure. Red flag, a good chunk that's been overturned. This statute has a red flag for the moment because it is yet to be appealed. That is as streamlined as I can do that. Basically, if you're indicted for a felony, you can still purchase a firearm until you're convicted, which makes sense to me because of the grand jury issues, which I knew about before I read the case. And I read it and go, that's exactly my issue with a grand jury. And sure enough, this judge does it.
All right. Clear as mud. Now let me go ahead and put this sort of devil's advocate into your mind, right? Oh, so it was used for racism in the past, but you really think that people are going to do that today? You really think that people are going to use this law for race? I thought you didn't believe that racism was real.
Do not give them the opportunity, period.
Oh, okay. Valid.
I don't care if it's used against Asians now, if it's used against people who are purple that somehow come out of the ground like, hey, we're here, you haven't noticed about it.
Or used against Republicans.
That too, which is what credit cards are currently doing now.
That's what I'm saying is that things are going to break down along some sort of line. If it's not a racial line, it'll be an ideological
and it needs to protect people who have not been convicted. It's not fair to have, unless you've been in jail and a part of your bond agreement is not buy firearms. That's different. As I mentioned, that this guy did not have that.
Yeah.
He did lie. I will give you that. However, it proved a point that said I shouldn't have had to have a lie or not because I'm not a convict yet.
Yeah.
What if he gets off? And that's kind of unfair.
Exactly.
Okay.
So here's the thing about Texas. In Texas, we allow felons to have guns.
That's right.
And we allow children to have guns.
That's right.
Yeah. That's the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is another federal law. This one actually is overturning one of the few restrictions that Texas did
Texas
have.
law.
It's overturning Texas law. That Texas law said that you had to be 21 to purchase.
No, to carry. To carry
a firearm. Right.
To carry a pistol.
Which is a firearm.
Right. When you say firearm, you've always been allowed to carry a rifle.
Yeah.
It's to conceal carry a pistol.
Carry a pistol. Right. So hold on. So you're still not allowed, if you're 18, you're still not allowed to purchase?
For now.
Okay. I was going to say,
for now.
Yeah, you can carry
that's a federal law, sadly.
Yeah. No, you carry a weapon that you
That's next to the chopping block, though, I think.
Purchase. Okay.
So
anyway.
Yeah.
This is a federal judge overturning a Texas law that says you cannot carry if you are above the age of 21, which to me, I'm all for it, right? Because here's the thing, we're still talking about adults, right? You're an adult at 18 years old. You can be drafted at 18 years old. If you are drafted and you go overseas, you know what they're going to hand you?
A gun.
A gun.
And a sight. Right?
And they're going to trust you to use it. And they're going to trust you to carry it and fire it properly. So if we can trust 18-year-olds to go to war, why can't we trust 18-year-olds with their constitutional right to carry a firearm and to have a pistol on their hip if they so desire? But Nick, this is just going to lead to more school shootings because you're going to have a bunch of crazy teenagers running around with guns. The crazy teenagers running around with guns are going to get their hands on their guns, whether it's the law or not.
Yep.
Right. That's ultimately the case that you have to go back with it. Right. It's that you're going to have more responsible individuals that have guns, not more irresponsible individuals. Because the irresponsible individuals, I hate to break it to you, they already have it.
Yeah.
Right? They don't really care about the fact that it's not legal.
How do you think that kid Uvalde got a gun?
Did he get it from his mom?
No, he purchased those.
Oh,
but
did.
It's after that, he had a bunch of problems and, police just didn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. So police cared, maybe a little harder.
Mm-hmm. That's the issue. Anyway, you want to get into legalese on this?
Yeah, you kind of hit a lot of it, but basically the Texas law that banned ages 18 to 20 from carrying handguns in public is unconstitutional because, again, we're going back to Bruin. The restriction is inconsistent with the Second Amendment and U.S. history. We have no historical factors to back this up. And then, two, the Constitution itself does not regulate the age group. Militia just says militia. It does not have an age group because back then, you had kids. Sometimes like, you know what? You're able. We kind of need you. Let's do this. So they said that based on that reason alone, the historical factor and the fact that the Constitution itself has no text actually says an age. Therefore, this is unconstitutional as well. And the weird thing is that we're recording this on, what's today? The 26th. We're recording this on Monday night, 26th.
Yeah.
The time to appeal is by midnight tonight.
Yeah.
From Paxton, Attorney General Paxton, because it's a Texas law.
You said that a little weird. I think you said Pakistan.
No.
The appeal has to come from the nation of Pakistan. I was like, that is not in this article.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
And if he doesn't appeal it, this stays. And effectively, as long as they return it.
Yeah.
So I think Paxton was like, I had to be advocate, and now I'm just going to bow out.
Okay.
I don't know. I've yet to see something come up and say this is it.
I mean, I haven't seen anything, and it's getting to be about the witching hour, guys.
Yeah.
We record these in the evening, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
But here's one thing that I want to get into on this, right? Because this is a federal state now. It's concerning Texas, right? It's concerning Texas law.
Yes.
But it is a federal issue. So I want to go to a federal issue with concerning firearms because we've kind of given Nick the in here, and Nick likes to talk about that. What do you say to this case? Two cases I'm going to give you regarding the Second Amendment. Well, the Second Amendment doesn't have any specification for age, so what's to prohibit babies from carrying guns? Or toddlers?
Dexterity.
Dexterity?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's to prohibit a 10-year-old from carrying a gun?
Nothing.
Nothing? So do you think it's okay for 10-year-olds to carry a gun?
If they've been gone through a safety class, yeah.
Okay. I might disagree with you there. I think we might
Have you never been to a shooting range and seen kids shoot?
I've seen kids shoot, right? But they're there with their parents.
Right.
Right? And you know what happens if you have a 10-year-old that walks into a shooting range and says, I would like to shoot a gun? They're going to say, where are your parents, 10-year-old? And if they say, they are not here with me presently, well, guess you don't get to go to the shooting range.
Oh, so we're going to forget about all of history, that little kid that basically had a Red Ryder BB gun or a pellet rifle that's just as strong as a 22.
Okay. That's not true.
That
no,
is
it's
true.
not.
You pump it enough,
not true.
you pump it enough, it will do the same strength, and it's just as damaging.
I fired a Red Ryder BB gun at a cardinal in my backyard at dang near point blank range, and it flew away. There's no way. I hit it.
Sure
It just bounced off the feathers.
Sure.
Right? Here's the thing. I think that there might need to be some for the sake of the safety of children, somebody who has a toddler, right, and knows how irresponsible children can be, there might have to be something. We don't let kids drink.
No, it's different.
Why is it different?
That's an inebriation. This one's a full right. You have the right.
All right. We'll have this conversation later. Now, number 2. Well, James, the Second Amendment specifically says that you have to be a part of a militia to carry a firearm.
Correct.
Are you a part of a militia, James?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Do you have what's the name of your militia?
James.
James, the militia is James. So what's the case there? What's the case that you say, you have to be, so the case there is that there has to be some sort of fully formed and legal, authorized by the state militia.
That is false.
Okay.
The word militia is very vague. It can be a group of guys. It can be what you're talking about. Or it can be a single person that says, I'm willing to link up with people if it hits the fan.
Yeah.
I'm a legal person.
Yeah.
Period.
And it's also, again, so
it's a very vague term, especially even at that time. It just meant the words like group.
It's also legal and grammatical often coincide. But there's a grammatical issue, right? Right. It says a well-regulated militia being necessary to preserve the freedom of the state. I'm not entirely sure the exact line there, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's not the right of the militia. The militia is the purpose for the right, but the right doesn't belong to the militia. The right belongs to
right.
So,
and Bruin basically allowed you to say you can have it. Heller, it's shocking it took until 2008 for this to actually happen. But Scalia wrote his opinion about Heller in 2008, which said you have a legal right to have it basically in your house or whatever. So it's sad it took that long for a case to actually come up. Bruin expanded it. Again, if there's no historical context of allowing this, you don't get to have it. So a lot of these blue states have been having this it only started about 20 years ago with you. There's no historical context for this. It's out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Texas, I feel like our guns are safe. I don't think that we're going to have any buybacks or anything like that in the future.
Oh, you'd be mistaken, Nick.
Oh, this is such a surprise.
I figured.
So,
Houston, do another buyback because it worked so successfully the first time.
Yeah. Didn't they get 600 guns or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Woo.
There's 1 million people in Houston.
Way more.
There's well over 1 million people.
Yeah. And but this time with a certain rule, because you have nefarious people who were selling these 3D printed ghost guns. None of that.
Yeah.
Let's not rewind the tape and look back over a year where Harris and Biden both going through the most dangerous things in the streets. Don't worry about that. Don't watch that video.
Speaking of which, how many deaths have been committed with ghost guns?
Still waiting on that number.
Yeah.
Still waiting.
Yeah.
But the policy, as well as the new tweak, opens up for a lot of issues.
So hold on though, James, because this is equally funny and I do want to revisit it.
Okay.
Why are they not allowing sale of ghost guns?
Because one guy trolled them, made over 100 of them?
Yeah.
On his printers, it cost $3 a pop. I just got $50 a pop. It's $3,000 in profit. Pretty good.
That man is my hero.
Episode 56. Check it out.
Yeah, if we can find him, I'll vote for the president.
Exactly. Yeah. He wanted to remain anonymous, though, so we'll never know who it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that's the other thing. You get to remain anonymous when you sell back their guns, because apparently they know this issue, and Sylvester Turner, the mayor, is like, well, we're going to try to tweak it, but he hasn't come out and said anything, which is kind of weird. When you sell your gun, you have anonymity and immunity for anyone who turns in the weapon. Do you see how that could be a problem?
What if the weapon was used in a murder?
anonymity,
Yeah.
and immunity.
And then you can. It's just a great way to ditch. It's now a great way to ditch a weapon.
Yeah.
Right.
High point, about $200 for a 45, maybe $250 now, probably $300 because of Biden.
Mm-hmm.
You buy that, you do your nefarious events.
Provided, if it's a high point, provided that it doesn't explode when you.
Yeah, it's 50-50 shot.
Because the action is basically made of glass.
Yeah, 50-50.
Anyway.
So you do you pop because you drug bust, whatever it is. I'm not a gangster. I don't know what they do. Maybe it's like you're the wrong Krispy Kreme. Pop.
No, that's what they do. They go running around in their cars and going pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, that's it. Just fake. Well, you can turn it in under the current rule. No questions asked. I think you're contributing to your murder problem with that rule in there. You might want to have some paperwork like a pawn shop does.
Mm-hmm.
You sell anything to a pawn shop, you have to fill out paperwork. Who are you? What's your name? What's your license? Why? Because it's a source of income. Does it reach a certain amount? When are you going to account for that income? I know it's stupid. But it makes sense in this case of kind of want to know where the guns come from.
Yeah.
But I'm not a blue city.
I honestly don't think that this is going to lead to all that much of an issue because let's be real, nobody's going to sell it.
I don't know.
Nobody sold it back in the first place.
They claim in that article that what we're going to share is that they had one line that was 2 miles long when it first started. A lot of people want the city safe.
What was it that you told me when I told you that I caught those 5 fish in 15 minutes when we were on that retreat? Which I did, though. 5 fish, 15 minutes, really impressive. What was it you told me? Picture it didn't happen.
Yeah. You got a picture, Nick? Well, no. But I have some. You don't have any pictures. You ain't got jack. Anyway, the guys that were there as witnesses all turned. I was like, I didn't see that, Nick. Oh, come on. Your witnesses are kind of dwindling here, Nick.
We don't sell our guns here in the state of Texas because Texas is a well-armed militia.
That's right.
Right? And that is, we're going to name our militia.
What?
The Stars at Night. Because we are
big and bright.
See you next week.